Claremont, South Africa's Cape Town, 19 years old on Mukana, affectionately known as Na, was a first-year student majoring in media and cinema at the University of Cape Town. She had lofty goals since she was a little child and was determined, focused, and always an overachiever. She had volunteered extensively, served on the student government, and was now active in many sports organizations. According to her mother, she was a warrior who constantly encouraged others to be their strongest self and speak their truth. Together with media and movies, she was a cheerleader for everyone. Na always approached life with a contagious zest and fearlessness, liked fashion, and wanted to visit as much of the globe as she could. According to her brother Issa, she was very different from me. She was gregarious and had a bold attitude. When she was around, she had a way of making everyone feel at ease. She was the one in the home who made us answer for our actions. She was unique in that way. On a Saturday, August 24, 2019, Na was catching up on her schooling, housework, and socializing with her pals. After waiting 2 weeks for the arrival of some garments she had bought online, Na left her gent lodging at Ross Common House and went to the Claren post office to pick them all up. Upon arriving, she was informed that her package was in, but she was unable to pick it up right away because of a power outage and malfunctioning systems. The staffer advised her to return at about 2 p.m. since power outages were undoubtedly prevalent in that region. It need to be prepared for use. We took a cab back there as the hours passed and nightfall arrived, and she was content to go and wait as she had a few more things to do around town anyway. People started to worry. Na hadn't been heard from and hadn't returned to her home for supper. She wasn't picking up her phone, and for someone as busy and diligent as she was, people quickly reported her missing. She had never disappeared so completely, and she never would unless there was a grave problem. In the days that followed, her family, her institution, and her student residence engaged 3 private detectives to assist the police in the frenzied hunt that quickly spread around the city. Her institution issued a statement in response to the Bring N Home movement, stating that in addition to offering whatever assistance they could, they would also be ensuring the campus was as secure as possible and implementing additional security. Everyone was on edge as 24-hour mark came and went, and before long it had been a few days since the 19-year-old was last seen or heard from. Searches were becoming more intense, but Na was nowhere to be found. She lived approximately 10 minutes away from her house, so some people believed they saw her at a hair salon in Mbrwe about 5 o'clock in the evening. However, this was quickly dispelled once she finished a few other tasks in town. After returning to her lodging for a little while, she called a cab to return to the post office. Her home was just a short distance from the Claren post office, which was located on a busy road between a high school and a police station. At 9 minutes past 2, the driver claimed to have dropped her off just across the street. The cameras on the storefront verified this. "She looked just good," he replied. "She didn't seem upset or anything, and everything seemed to be okay." She exited and crossed the street toward the post office, but no cameras captured her again. Since there were no functional cameras at the post office, they talked with every employee, including Leander Boa, 42. It seemed strange that Leander would be waiting around there an hour after he should have left for home just for one package for one person. He was the one who had signed her package in and instructed her to return at 2 p.m., but it turned out that he was the only person still in the building. He had also strangely switched shifts with a co-worker who told her she could leave early and he would lock up alone. They could also see from the opening hours that the post office was actually closed on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Things got stranger when it appeared that her parcel had actually arrived on August the 16th, and Leander had registered it the same day, but he waited a whole extra week before contacting her and had already been in a week earlier to ask about it. So he knew she was waiting on something. And then when she got there on August 24th, he again held it back, telling her she had to come back and get it. When they were closed, authorities gotten an alarming tip-off from an anonymous source at the post office. They had seen blood on a mop when the post office was reopened after the weekend. A swab of the building showed that Na's blood was present near the safe on August 29th, 5 days. After Na went missing, police placed Leanda Boa under arrest as well as the post office. Na's blood had been found inside his car and on his shoe, and in just a few days, this missing persons case would become what many had been fearing it was. Now, a murder investigation. Little did anyone, apart from the authorities, know a woman's body had already been found in Kyer Township. On August 26th, she had been burned beyond recognition, beaten badly, and buried in a hole beside an unused railway track. DNA tests were being done to confirm the identity, but authorities now knew it was Na. Leander had told them where to find her. Meanwhile, other vigils and gatherings were also happening all over, not just in the city, but in the country. The grief that everyone experienced, particularly because they had all been looking for her with such optimism for days and were unaware that she had already been discovered. Of all the locations she had warned Na about, the post office on a Saturday afternoon was not one of them, according to Na's mother, who claimed to be so filled with guilt and rage that she hadn't been there to defend daughter. Leanda swiftly confessed to everything. It was a totally premeditated attack. He timed her coming back to the post office so that no one would be around, and this was because he wanted to make sexual advances towards her. As soon as she got into the empty building and pulled out her purse, he locked the door and immediately moved towards her. Nay pushed him away and started to panic and shout he raped her twice, and she fought him back really hard, even running to the locked door to try and escape. He then pushed her to the ground. As she was pleading for her life, he started choking her. He said she was still fighting him, so he grabbed a 2-kilogram weight used to weigh packages and bludgeoned her to death after she was dead. He forced her body into a safe and covered her with cushions, a blanket, and some of his clothes. He then left and went out to some bars drinking like nothing had happened before returning the next day. As it was a Sunday, no one was working and there were no cameras. He was confident he would not be caught. He talked to the security officer who patrolled around the post office's area and persuaded him to allow him to park his car in the post office precinct. After placing Na's corpse in a mailbag, Leander drove her to a remote location close to the abandoned railroad track, which was over an hour distant. He burned her after tossing her into a small pit. The next day, while everyone was out searching for Na, Leander took his vehicle to be washed. Just after 2 p.m., Leander dropped Na down in the same location where her cab had left her off, the store across the street from the post office. He asked to see their camera footage from Saturday, saying he had left something outside and it had been stolen. They showed him the footage, but the camera was not pointing at the post office door. People didn't know a huge amount about Leander. He was fairly quiet and kept to himself, and recently was in the midst of a divorce. He did, however, have a criminal record going back as the 1990s, and was even accused of rape. In 2014, these charges had been dropped, but detectives couldn't ignore this. The magistrate presiding over the case ruled that he could not be identified, but his name had been widely circulating on social media anyway, with many working out who was accused of doing this. To NA, opinion about Leander was very split. One neighbor described him as a soft-spoken, church-loving man. Another said he was kind and carried a Bible. He offered Bible studies and prayers to people, but others added that a lot of women found something creepy about him, and he made them uncomfortable. To say what happened to NA caused outrage would be an understatement. During September 2019, protests against gender-based violence peaked. Thousands of people marched the streets and held protests, and everyone was coming from everywhere to show their solidarity and support for Na's family. Am I next? Was everywhere as people banded together, and President Cyril Ramaphosa even visited Na's family as well. Residents torched Leander's house, resulting in 4 firefighters fighting back flames and a very angry crowd of people believing he might be out on bail. They even dug a hole at the house in which they intended to bury him if he was found inside. One resident said he fooled all of us pretending to be a man of God while he is a monster. Her case sparked such uproar throughout South Africa and beyond, with many demanding action be taken to quell the country's femicide rate, which according to the World Health Organization is 5 times the global average in the same month. 5 other young women in Cape Town were killed in horrific circumstances, and at the time of Na's murder, it was also one of the highest rates of rape in the world. A petition which garnered more than 600,000 signatures called for the death penalty to be brought back not just for murder, but for rape and sexually related crimes as well. In court, Leanda pleaded guilty to rape and murder you through his legal representatives. He said, "I admit that I acted with full appreciation of the wrongfulness of my actions, and I am liable for my actions as I had the intention to rape and kill the deceased." He was handed 3 life sentences plus 5 years and is eligible for parole after serving 25 years of his sentence. The judge addressed Na's family and said she fought bravely and courageously. This was indeed a heinous and cruel act and crime, though it may be cold comfort for you today. It is not without significance that she was a fighter and clearly had a fighting spirit for her life. Na's uncle said that the family was satisfied with the sentence. "The judgment won't in any manner replace you, but we do appreciate it." After he started serving his sentence, he was again hauled before the court to answer the attempted rape charge from back in 2014. He had been arrested, but the case was struck off after what happened to Nay. It was reinstated. Whilst on trial, he testified that he had been seeing a former girlfriend who was a nursing student, but there had been infidelity. He claimed that he went to his girlfriend's college, and the security guards let him enter without following the correct protocols. He couldn't find his girlfriend in her room, so he went to the female showers where he could hear the water running. He heard some voices and thought his girlfriend was in the shower with another woman when he went in. He found another woman he didn't know who screamed when she saw him and ran away. Leander alleged that he returned to the shower to explain why he was there, but the woman had fallen to the ground with a towel and was crying hysterically. He denied even touching her. Her story was very different. She said that he had viciously attacked her and raped her in the showers, but in early 2025, he was found not guilty in this case. An investigation into how he remained employed at the post office despite having previous criminal convictions was launched. A spokesperson confirmed that he had not been screened when he was appointed, neither as a part-time employee or a full-time employee, and Leander declared that he did not have a criminal record. This investigation also revealed that the state security agency had flagged hundreds of other employees with criminal records. The Department of Justice and Correctional Services published 3 new draft bills set to introduce harsher punishments for criminals in South Africa. Some of the most notable changes introduced by the bills include regulating sentences in respect of offenses that have been committed against vulnerable persons, further facilitating the obtaining of protection orders against acts of domestic violence, broadening the categories of sex offenders whose names must be included in the National Register for Sex Offenders. The president said that following the graduation of 5,000 police trainees in the previous year, 7,000 new police trainees were enlisted this year to strengthen local policing. She was someone that clearly had a deep impact on everyone in her life, whether they knew her personally or knew her name through the tragic circumstances presented in the media. A scholarship and foundation were set up in her name, awareness walks work with youth groups, and even a football club is in her name. She is still a huge part of her community and AAR. She was honored posthumously by her old school, which said Kingswood College had the opportunity of having her as part of our family. The Neil Agate Award is awarded to Kingswood College students who display a high degree of human courage and awareness of social justice. One of her friends wrote on social media, "I'm writing this during a sleepover with some of our closest friends. We're distracting ourselves with movies and music, but there's a wavering sadness in the room. The pain is so great it holds me down when I sleep and wakes me up in the morning. I'm too young to bury a friend, and you are too young to be buried." Her brother ASA said, "I always think of the memories we had together, and I tend to go through periods of reflection. Is what I'm heading towards making her proud? Sometimes I feel like I'm falling short, And that's when I try to work towards a higher standard for myself, and that's how I keep her memory alive inside of myself.